this, we would make sure everybody knew it. But usually there hasn't
I thought
been.
we had to sign another paper or had to fill another paper or something.
That's the media for you. It can be confusing. Because they only got a small amount of space to talk about their items, so you get a few little points, but they don't always connect together.
There's some really good staples there, Catherine.
Yes, one of the staplers works well.
What is that?
That's the water sewer.
Oh boy, you brought a big book.
That's right, if I was supposed to.
We're not talking budget tonight, are we?
No, you're not.
Okay, good. I didn't see it listed, but
No, you're just getting it so you have enough time to review it.
see people have them, so I was wondering if I missed something.
No, you didn't, but Caleb read part of his book already.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Caleb.
Read part of what?
Well,
That?
yeah.
Good for you.
Yep.
Because it scared him, no.
Should scare all of us.
You're absolutely right, son.
Yes, this is true. Yes, I'm all set.
So I'd like to open the regular meeting of the Pittsfield Town Council tonight, Tuesday, October 15th. If we could all stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please start with a moment of silence. Thank you. First item on the agenda is adoption of the minutes of the regular meeting last held on October 1st, 2019. Do I hear a motion?
Move we adopt minutes as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Howie. Any corrections, additions, deletions to the minute? I actually have one correction. In my remarks at the end, the farm to farm coming up, it's actually the farmer to farmer conference. It's November 3rd and 4th. And Snake Root Farm is also a tour in one of the pre-conference tours.
What page are you on?
Just correcting the minutes, it's at the end in the
Page
report.
6.
Thank you.
Oh, yep, there it is, page 6. So the pre-conference tours are on November 2nd. It's a Saturday. They're free and open to the public. The only charge is for busing from Northport, where the main conference is being held. Snake Root Farm is going to do a tour at 1 p.m. and then everyone will come over to Balfour Farm at 3 p.m. Just wanted to keep that correct in there. Any other corrections? Seeing none, ask for a vote to pass the minutes of the last meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nay. All right, that motion passes. Thank you. Presentations, congratulations, and introductions. Presentation on the initial audit report to assist with energy needs and building updates for the town of Pittsfield, as provided under a Kennebec Valley Council of Governments grant.
Hi, very good. This will be a very short review regarding a grant opportunity that came through the Kennebec Valley Council of Governments. The councils have received a copy of the Siemens report. Most of the councils received it at a past meeting. 2 councils received it at this meeting. And so I'm going to be very brief because the report indicates that it's proprietary and confidential, but we were told that we could discuss it but not give out copies. So we'll get this all resolved with the company in the future, but as long as the document indicates proprietary, we do need to be careful. So KV-COG had received a grant through the Department of Economic Community Development, and that is a DECD. KV-COG is the Kennebec Valley Council of Governments. That was to assist towns in their service area, which is 44 communities in 2 counties and part of another county. So 2 whole counties and a small section of another county. And that was to deal with energy needs, specifically around the streetlights. A number of communities in southern Maine, after the law changes, are able to own their own streetlights, which will reduce maintenance costs. And as we know, the streetlight bill is huge for the town of Pittsfield because we have a lot of streetlights. And so we were one of the first towns to sign up for this, and there ended up being 6 communities of the 44 that signed up to look at this. And so there's our very preliminary economics, and there would have to be a lot more study that goes into this. So at this point, we're still working with the company. I've asked for the document not to have proprietary and confidential on it, but I can give out some of the information that's in the document. So we will get that off, but for right now, there were 6 buildings that were looked at for the purpose of evaluating potential energy conservation measures. And so the study that was done by Siemens, which was the company hired by KV-COG, Kennebec Valley Council of Governments, talked about looking at retrofitting existing systems and the installation of new systems. And so on their preliminary analysis, and this is only preliminary, it indicates that the annual energy savings from these 6 buildings, which I'll list in a moment, would be $7,685. And that the streetlights are the big item. The annual energy and lighting service area savings from the streetlights was proposed as $9,549 per year, and the annual operation and maintenance savings would be $35,637. So you can see the streetlights are the key item here. I mean, we can do things to the rest of the buildings, and that will help, and we should look at that. So they gave an output over a 20-year period that we were going to say $940,000. That seems kind of high, and so that's why you'd have to do further study on this. And so the Siemens Energy Performance Solutions Program from the contract and the higher KV-COG indicates that the benefits of the program include improved facility infrastructure, that would be true, lowered operating costs, I'm sure that we can lower the costs, self-funded modernization of infrastructure, and that's where they've got an innovative program that would have to be explored before we did anything with it. And we should see, doesn't seem to be used in the state of Maine, but has been used outside the state of Maine, so we want to check into that. There are guaranteed cost reductions according to the program, reduced financial risk, improved operating efficiencies, and that would be true, improved occupant satisfaction and comfort, and that may or may not be true depending on the buildings, because some of them are in good shape with their systems. So this is done through something called performance contracting, and I'll just list exactly what this is, and then we'll do some more exploration on this. It's an innovative financing technique that uses energy savings from our existing budget to repay the cost of installing facility improvement measures. So under this program, the facilities, which is the town, would make no upfront investments and instead finance projects through guaranteed annual energy savings. And should the guarantee fall short, the Simons Company would cover the difference between the guaranteed savings and the actual savings. So all excess savings go directly to the customer. So this is something that's quite innovative and something that is new to the state of Maine. And so they talk about the energy efficiency equipment that they do install, depending on the situation in the town or the entity, can be lighting controls, boilers, cooling equipment, etc., which would reduce the existing energy budget and pay for the new equipment over time. There are no upfront costs and no annual savings, guaranteed over the term. And so they did a site assessment of the municipal building, which had been upgraded by the town through 3 grants. Pittsfield Community Theater that had a new furnace put in 2003. The furnace that was there was kind of scary, and so I'm glad that we got that taken care of pretty quickly there, because we don't want anything to happen while the building's there. Pittsfield Library has a relatively new furnace, very new in fact, because it went through the renovation, so 210. The Public Works Garage does not, and has some sort of energy problem going there, but we did discover why. When the Public Works took over the plowing, they're saying they're opening the doors 3 times as much as usual, and so with the doors open all the time, more of the energy is going out, so they're using more for the furnace. So that would probably match up to an inefficient system. Water Sewer Garage, that doesn't have the date there, but I know they did some renovations to the whole system a couple of years ago, so that's a pretty good system. So in their utility analysis, they've got all these statistics, but it shows that the cost of the Public Works Garage has gone up and up and up, whereas the other buildings have pretty much been stable. So we'll skip ahead very quickly to the different types of measures that they indicate can take place. And they can be retrofitting, because we do have some older T8 lighting or LED lighting. We got updated with our lighting here in the building and a couple of other buildings, but we're not eligible to have a grant through Efficiency Maine because we're going to be updating the same utilities again. So there's no of the regular facility items that we can get for grants through Efficiency Maine. We were able to do a couple of items at the library that hadn't been done before, so we did do an Efficiency Maine grant for that, just a small one. They can update the exit lights with LED lights, and none of our facilities have that. The library may, I'd have to check on that, but all the other buildings don't. They talked about some LED or induction exterior lighting upgrades, and exterior lighting could definitely be upgraded. Having occupancy sensors, with the exception of one department, we're all good about turning off our lights. Day lighting controls and exterior lighting controls. Programmable thermometers, and they talked about furnace replacements if needed, and waste oil furnaces at some of the buildings, which would have to be limited because you only have those at your buildings that had outside departments. And then to go on to the cost savings, they're indicating preliminarily only, and I'm going to say preliminary again, because I think you'd have to go to step 2 to get the actual cost of what would be involved here. They're stating that we would have an average savings of $7,685, or 13% of the existing utility that's spent now on our 6 buildings. And there might be other buildings that could be brought in, but at this time they only looked at the biggest 6 buildings. And it's the street lights where they're saying that we can have an annual savings in total of $45,185. And our bill at the time they did the study was $58,600. Now it's up to $60,000. It does keep going up, and I do have all of the accounts on the special main power options, but there's only so much savings you can get. And our contracts go through November and December of 2020. So this is a basic review, very quick, and I think it's something that we want to go to the step 2, which still does not bind us to this company or anything, but we can explore continuing. And step 2 would be to have through the KV cog a better study that deals with street lights, and we would put out what would be called a performance system, in which we would put out an RFP to see what companies were out there beyond this company, because one company can't, do everything, and we can't just work with one company. So that's just a very brief report. This is a confusing subject because it is performance contracting. It's not something that's done in the state of Maine, but it was something innovative that KV cog brought to us. We have a new, in the last 2 years, individual that takes care of the grants down at KV cog, Mr. Tyson. He came from out of state, and he is very innovative, so he came up with this type of arrangement. So I think we would probably go to step 2, which still does not make us responsible to accept a bid, but that we probably would want to go on to what's called an investment grade audit to develop an energy savings performance contracting program. So we can explore that a little bit more. We do need to look at energy. It's something that's hard to look at for the town because it's complicated, especially with the street lights. Down in southern Maine, due to the law changes in the last couple of years, and Falmouth was the leader, they were so perturbed with dealing with CMP, they actually got the law through after several times so that towns could actually own their own streetlights because the bills were just going up so much.
Ridiculous.
So they have done a really good job and sort of paved the way. And then this area hasn't really looked at it. There's a small area up in one of the northern counties that looked at it. So we would be like the third area to look at things. So we'll bring back the next steps, but I just want to give you some basic information, and we'll continue to work with the company to see how we can get the details off, because I would like to distribute the report, but I know at this point I can't. But you got the details from the report.
Do we have like a timeline for the second step in the process?
Mm-hmm. We'll have to talk with KV cog a little bit about that. So far it appears we would be the first town to sign up.
Oh. And do you have another copy of that? Because I didn't get a copy of that yet.
Yes.
I can.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Next item, community and economic development activities and events.
Yes, and so I'll be very brief, and then we're going to turn this over to Mike Gray from the board of the Pittsfield Economic Expansion Corporation. On your agenda, you've got our upcoming biggie Community Economic Development Award for the county, in which the town will receive a 2019 Spirit of America Award, and Tom Brown will have his name announced for the 2019 Spirit of Award for America for himself as our volunteer of the year. And so that will be taking place tomorrow evening, and Councilor Stackhouse will be attending that, along with myself. All right, very good. And the second item I'll mention is Small Business Saturday. That is coming right up on Saturday, November 30th, and we've always honored that and tried to emphasize it, but not say it's just Small Business Saturday. It's small businesses every day, because a lot of the small businesses aren't open on Saturday. They're open on other days, and so we should honor all of them. So we've contacted a couple of groups to see if they're going to be working on some activities, and we'll see if we'll join up to have a big event, or we'll just have some small promotional items. So we've got Mike Gray from the Pittsfield Economic Expansion Corporation here this evening to do a report.
I'll stand because sitting is in these chairs. Look forward to the cushioned chairs coming back. Peak had a meeting on October 8th, and quite a lengthy agenda. I will hit some highlights and some things that you may or may not be aware of, and then if you have any questions, I'll try to do my best to answer those. First item was innovative specialties, the folks that build the trailers out here. we are nearing and getting much closer to them getting the property, the 4 lots across the street from them. They've delayed this thing 2 or 3 times, and it's getting time that sale goes through. So we're pushing that a little bit just to get it done before winter, hopefully. We talked about tax increment financing. We have a couple of projects in town that are receiving that. Probably the biggest one that you're aware of would be the solar project for Chinburn on Route 2. We look and try to game plan other areas in the town where something like a TIF would be available. Right now, we don't have any areas, but that's not to say if the right business came to town that we couldn't do the paperwork and get something like that done. It takes several months, if not the better part of a year, to get a TIF in place, so it's something that really has to be worth the energy. Local company that wishes to expand has been looking at a lot adjacent to the industrial park. They've met with a little bit of resistance as far as what can be done with that land. So Peak has decided that we want to hire an independent engineer to go in and see if it's really feasible to put another business in there, which would be a substantial addition to the town. So more on that to follow. The engineering firms around here are extremely busy right now. So I met personally with a local business person who is considering expanding into a fairly large bed and breakfast, if you will. A lot of things to overcome, one of which is once you reach, and Dean could back me up on this one, I think, once you reach 5 rooms, then you must comply with NFPA 1 or 2 life safety codes, which require sprinkling. And nobody ever really thought about that. So you either got to scale it down or really get into it. And sprinkling these days can add $35,000, $40,000 to almost anything. So
Mike, that's a state code. That's a state code.
It is a state code.
Yes, state
They
fire
do it
marshal's
in,
office.
I think 1 through 5 rooms is a class 1, and then goes down up 1 through 4 is a class 2. It varies, but sprinkling is just a requirement that, you know, you either make it a very small bed and breakfast, which really, from a financial standpoint, wouldn't be worth acquiring the property, doing the maintenance and all that. So that's kind of a work in progress. We're trying to come up with some innovative ideas as far as financing and things like that. We don't do financing, but we can point people in the direction that financing would be available in any number of areas up there. The Chambers boarding home up on the hill is looking to expand. Don't have a lot of details on that yet, but we've reached out to John Chambers to see if there's anything we can in fact do to help that. I think one of the things you have to understand is that extended care like that in this state is shrinking, and the population is getting older, and available rooms are getting much smaller. So, you know, the state's going to have to come up with something that will address that sooner rather than later, and they don't seem inclined to really tackle that. So, Blackfly Media, an update. I'm not really sure where they are. There have been several appointments scheduled. There have been several appointments that haven't been made. So I'm going to dig a little deeper into that one. One thing that you may recall, 3 years ago, MCI had entered into talks with us about closing off Stinson Avenue. I did meet with the new headmaster up at MCI, who is really seems like a go-getter. He wants to bring that back to the table. Wants to talk with his board of directors and see if that's feasible as far as their whole campus redesign. And You've seen some of it up there with the cutting of the trees, so I would expect you'll see more of that, whether Stinson Avenue comes to this board or not. It's hard to tell at this point, but we're gonna look into that and try to help in any way that we possibly can. Sonico had a very small addition to the building down there. We had a discussion. Peak actually is the landlord for that, so we have to approve any building additions. This was pretty minor, I think a $18,000 or $20,000 canopy over a doorway, so nothing too significant. I did speak with representatives of the Armstrong family, and they are at a point now where they would really like to do something with SAS property. So I think we're in a position, I know we're in a position to reach out to some folks who have the backing and who could actually acquire that property and do something with it. There's some real pluses and minuses to that property. It's going to take somebody, if you look at what they've done in Waterville, what they've done up in Dover, what they're doing in Dexter, I think that old mill building is ripe for it. The new part is not advantageous to the property, in my opinion, but somebody who's better financed than I'll ever be needs to take a good hard look at that. But we can act as a conduit. I've had several discussions with those folks in San Antonio, and I will be returning to that area in a not too distant future and have a meeting set up with them personally. So I think that will work out.
I have a question, Mike.
Sure.
Could that property be split up and sold in two separate divisions, like the new part and the old part? Or?
I don't see how, because they're connected. I personally think the old multi-story building has much more potential than the newer part, if you will.
There, but I didn't know
The new part, I barely can stand up in it. I mean, there's a lot. It's very low ceilings, not in the greatest condition.
Can we get
There's a
into
lot of
it?
class to that old building. So
The newer building, the 1970s, is accessible through the company. You will not want to go into the old structure anymore. It was vandalized. And so it was very difficult to walk through there 2 years ago. I went through
it's
it.
not any better now. So.
After 2 years, I don't think it would be safe for us to go through it. It's been
But,
heavily
somebody with substantial backing. If you look at the old Hathaway mills and the other ones, they've turned those into classics. So something.
I thought that was sold at an auction, apparently not.
sold.
They attempted to sell it at the auction after they told us that they would deed it to the town, and we had indicated that we had to do the Brownsfield assessment first, so we weren't in the chain of the fixing it out, so that we could get all the grant money. And then they turned around and scheduled the auction at the same time, and then couldn't come to arrangement with any of the people that came. And so it sent
The
So now
Brownfield
they're stuck.
thing is something we can
They had an
handle.
opportunity, but
We actually did it with the Chinbro Institute over there, so it's not insurmountable. And nobody really knows.
Till you do it.
is there, are there floor plans for that building?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
There's a very rustic set of floor plans, and you have to think this is back when they did them by hand, or with the older type machine in the 60s. There's some, and 70s. There's some plans for. at
There's a
least one of the
local person
buildings.
who has access to those, Bob Chadbourne, so.
Yeah, that's where I got them
Maybe we
from.
could get a copy of them.
We haven't really, reached, once we get in touch with somebody who actually is interested, we're gonna put them in touch directly with those folks, because after that, then that Brownfield assessment needs to be completed as part of a potential purchase, if you will. Depending on how that came out, then at that stage of the game, somebody would either move forward or not. And a lot's in the air. I mean, the buildings are deteriorating substantially as each year goes by.
So several years ago, we had brought 14 deals to them, which were not approved. Now, only maybe 3 had really reasonable financing. Some of the others didn't, but we sent them along anyway. And nothing was approved, and, you know, then they decided it was gonna be used for something else, and then nothing happened. So now.
They had a
we have
substantial
neighbors.
price on it a while back, and now that price has come down
Yeah,
to the
like
point.
$1 million or
Yeah.
something like that.
The price is substantially lower than that. We've had an inquiry from a very large tree length developer who was looking at coming to town, so we're trying to find a piece of property
That's big enough.
that's big enough, actually. I mean, you know, it's a really nice thing that we don't have anything left, but it's a really bad thing that we don't have anything left. So, you know, we need to focus on trying to acquire different properties. We have a cell phone company looking to put a tower very close to town. Their original area that they wanted to put this thing, we just don't feel it fits into the neighborhood. So I came up with a plan that I sent a note to Catherine, and I suspect she's still thinking about that. So I think it's innovative myself, but we'll see where that goes. But it's a prominent cell phone carrier, so it would.
It would be good for the town, but they've got it just too close to newly remodeled buildings.
Yeah, so there are other places in town that a cell phone tower could go that would work, in my opinion. So we'll see where that goes. Hancock Lumber. We've known for some time now that Hancock is going to close their retail store. Spoke with Paul Wainman, who was their CFO, and he kind of brought me up to date on what their financial plan is. And I can tell you that they are definitely staying in town. They've put about $3.5 million in that mill down there. The retail store had 4 employees, 3 of which had been offered jobs out in the processing area. 1 is retiring. They purchased mainly trusses down at Fairfield. So their expansion up here fits with their business plan of what's going on down there. So I foresee that, I don't foresee, I know for a fact that this is going to expand down here. They've got enough room to do it, and I'm certain that will bring additional employees to town, if you will.
Excuse me, Mike. The part about the retail, are they keeping it or
No,
are they getting rid
they're
of it?
closing
It's
it.
gonna go.
Yeah, and they really, the retail operation they had down there was very minor compared to their overall growth plans and sales as far as the lumber goes. It's a lot of competition around here. Usually you gotta go to Newport to find whatever it is you want. But other than that, I think
I like to be
their
able to
potential.
do everything I want in Pittsfield.
It would be really nice if you had a really nice hardware store
Yeah.
here, but we don't have the traffic flow.
Even a
The
small
folks that
one.
built a brand new business out on Route 2 coming out of Newport, huge investment over there. Hancock is, building their business to be in competition with those folks, so we're gonna be fine.
Oh, Crescent Lumber.
Crescent Lumber, yeah. So that's where we are right now. There are more things coming up. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, Mike, with Innovative Specialties, they're buying the property, and what are they planning to put on that property? Another facility?
Right now, they need storage space. If you ride up by there,
Yeah.
they're crowded. So their initial plan is to clean lots 5, 6, and 7. 4 being, if you were standing back to their building, it goes 4, 5, 6, and 7. 4 is pretty well wooded right now. What they'd like to do is take 5 and 6 and gravel it and eventually building some sort of major pole barn, I guess, for a better description, so that they can move some of their finished product across the street.
Yeah, that place is gonna be fun to plow this winter. I flew over it the other day. There's trailers everywhere.
Oh,
I mean,
I mean, it would be like a Walmart parking lot, and
Yeah.
impossible to put, so.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, and it's time for them to conclude this part of the process. Their grant is all done now and actually almost closed out.
We got all the paperwork, the auditor has it now.
So-
But yes, we filled it out the day that we got it from DECD.
Yeah, so it's close in that regard. We just need to bring the other one up, and then we keep looking for ways to acquire and show off some businesses in different lots.
Yeah. So Peak is not going to be involved at this point in helping finance the construction of whatever they're putting on.
No, we don't really help in any finance construction. We're able to recommend TIFs, we can recommend areas, I don't mind speaking on companies' behalf, you know, doing what we can do, but we're just not set up. Loaning money is not, you know, the bank money right now is so cheap that, you know, it's pretty advantageous for a business to take advantage of it.
Yep. Okay, thanks.
Anything else?
I had a question about the Stinson Avenue issue with MCI. Is that, if they had a proposal for that, would that go to the planning board first?
It has to, absolutely, because there are, it's a very lengthy process. There has to be a whole complete legal description. I think we have, as a town, have to figure out who actually owns what, because there's a lot of differences between what was originally done back in the late 1800s to what actually is physically on the ground. And I've read some of those documents, and you could speculate, okay, this is where it is, but no way to tell.
You have to make sure
I
that the
think
road
it's-
is laid out within the right of way, which
Wow.
we assume it is, but it needs to be verified. There's a few
So there needs
areas.
to be some
iffy.
survey done and.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, it's not a-
MCI should probably have their properties surveyed.
Yeah, it's not a cheap process to go through, both from a town standpoint and MCI, but when we had originally talked with them, MCI would be picking up that cost.
Well, it's also a matter of traffic flow and how it would
Yes.
change traffic through.
Yeah, you know,
through
everybody
town.
seems to think that there's a ton of traffic that comes through. The majority of the traffic is the student population, and you can dictate to them where you want them to go. But I think it would be advantageous for the town to say, okay, let's measure the traffic. Let's see what goes down Library Street.
Yeah.
Library Street is not one of our premier streets in town, if you will. It's, yeah, let's face it, over the years been totally neglected. The infrastructure is pretty poor. You wouldn't want to increase substantially from the local population. So, yeah, it's just one of those things we have to take a real long, hard look at it before, you know, any decision was ever made.
Well, there isn't a lot of traffic except when the kids are going to school and when they're getting out of school. The rest of the day,
Yeah, to
for
me,
15 years, I worked up there, so I know.
I mean, it takes, in my mind, it takes longer to come off Industrial Park, go left, go up through, maintain the speed limit, and go up through a bunch of kids walking all over the roadway. You know, in my mind, it's easier to make a right, go down, pick up Main Street, come up through town. So.
Yeah,
But-
and I understand this MCI's need, or lack of a better word, need for safety, providing safety, but I have a concern about if a fire broke out in Alumni Hall, the fire department would have to go all the way around and come back to get to that building.
I mean, there are any number of,
And the church on the corner.
yeah, their initial plan right now is to create a big horseshoe. Those streets be directly behind Founders, in front of the library, and then behind or in front of the gymnasium would still be open. But you have to you'd have to involve the fire department and say, all right, what's logical
Absolutely.
here? And if it's not logical, then don't do it. I mean, that gets real easy in my mind, so.
Well, it sounds like it's a little ways off before we
It's,
have to address it, so.
My guess is you will all be up for re-election before anything.
It sounds
comes down the
like
road.
quite a project that we're gonna need a lot of background
Yeah,
information
no,
on before it even comes back to the planning board even.
I just had lunch
Yeah.
and pizza with the new headmaster simply because I thought it would be good for us to have that connection. And he and his wife are interesting people. Come from a real varied background. His wife is from Hanoi. And we chatted quite a bit, and it was quite a lot of fun. So.
So you think you want to have the school be more involved with the community?
No
yes,
question in my
yes.
mind, they already are.
Because we lost that when Doug Cummings retired.
Um,
Yeah, that would be true.
They have a lot of things in the works. We'll see where it goes, but I think this guy has the energy and the capacity to
Yeah.
really get more involved. So.
I gotta agree with that. I've met with him already. I mean,
Yeah,
I mean,
Caleb
he's
knows.
like, I think he's got a lot of ideas, and he's gung ho about going out and meeting people, and he wants to be part of the community.
Yeah, I
He's
think
got a young kid there, and I mean,
I think
they're really excited.
I've listened to some of the teachers up there, and they're trying to slow him down a little bit because he's just taking a shotgun approach right now.
He'll learn.
He will definitely, no question. So.
Yes, that was a good question, Deborah. He's very community orientated, so
I
that
think
would
it'd be
very
nice
good.
if he came and introduced himself.
I thought
to
that
the
was gonna
council.
happen, but I know he's been waylaid by so many people.
I don't mind calling him up and
Mention
saying,
him.
why don't you come on down?
Issue an invitation.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's joined the skating rink committee, because we appointed him to that.
Oh, good.
So that, he's gonna gradually fit in, and his wife will too, she's a go-getter. So she'll be involved in a lot of things, I'm sure.
Nice.
So on
That's nice.
any proposal that involved MCI with the closing of Simpson Avenue would require a lot of different steps. There are statutory items, road discontinuance items, the surveying, planning board process, town council process, there's
Yeah.
extensive steps involved. with
And
that.
the legal process will not be easy because I don't know that we even have any records here, and the ones that are at the registry of deeds really don't make a lot of
Sketchy.
sense. So it's gonna be,
Yeah, because most of these items were very old, they took place a long time ago, because MCI's been there since the 1800s.
So it seems like that whole area would have to be.
Yes, and
you can't
everybody would
just
have
survey
to,
one little piece.
yeah, everybody would have to be involved, there's a whole variety of groups and individuals and the property owner.
Yeah.
so it'll be a while, but worth for you to be thinking long-term.
Great, thank you, Mike.
Okay?
Okay, next we have public hearings and old business, and there is none. Reports, council committees, finance committee, Bob?
Yes, we had a finance committee last Thursday. Wasn't much on the agenda. Catherine updated us on the capital improvement projects. Paving, I believe, is all done now.
There's an overlay coat that is needed on Detroit,
On
but the
Detroit.
base coat went down, which is what needed to
Okay.
happen.
Okay, I know Pelton was done and New Snake Road was done.
Yes, yes, those
Uh,
are all done.
So that's moving right along.
The bids went out for the roofing project and the pointing of the
Mason.
masonry work. The roofing project came in at a decent price. Matter of fact, that's on the agenda tonight to approve, so, but the pointing project will have to go back out for bid. It was way over bid, so, and the bat walkway also.
Mhm.
Those two items. And we talked about the phone system, that's gonna be starting to get installed as soon as CMP can get a rep here to help with some of the numbers, right, Catherine?
We have all the equipment out back, and there's a lot of it. It's all piled
So
up.
that'll be happening soon.
Yes.
And I think that was about it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Ordinance committee, we have not had a meeting. I believe we'll probably start tackling things when we get a little further into the budget process. And there's a few things that need to come back from the planning board still, so we're waiting on them to do that. Recycling committee, I think that would be Tim, so we'll hold off on that till the next meeting. Sorry, Tim's basement is flooded, so that's why he's not here tonight. Valid excuse, I think, to not be
Especially in light
here
of what's coming
attending to
tomorrow
that,
and Thursday.
given the rain coming, yeah. Board and committee updates by town councilors and town manager. Howie, is there anything on the
Nothing
bicentennial
right now.
committee? Nothing doing?
No.
Okay. And we don't have a theater tonight, so.
No, their meeting got canceled.
Okay. And, Catherine, do you have anything?
Yes. On the- yes.
She always has something.
have
That's a
interest
silly
in it.
question.
All right, very good. On the town manager's report, number 1 is the residential household hazardous waste disposal day that took place on Saturday, October 12th. That went very, very well. Amazingly enough, there were 42 units from 20 individuals. So we had 20 individuals that brought in items, and they brought in quite a bit. There were a few no-shows, but that happens each time because people have to register and tell us the items they're going to bring. And the items that seemed to be no-shows were mostly the paint. So we think that probably they realized that they had, latex paint, which if you wash it out, you can put it in with the garbage. Palmyra participated with their own manifest, had all their forms filled out correctly, and they had 11 participants. So there were 31 participants in total, so in all a very successful event. And next year I think we'll be back to having the other towns involved. KV Cog had gone through some significant staff transitions, which resulted in the information coming out late in our day not being added in. So we had to get this all straightened out with the new people that were hired. So it ended up being a very successful household hazardous waste day, which we have, saving a lot of materials that should not be in the waste stream. Number 2, there will be a prescription drug take back day. So prescription drug take back day. Say that 4 times. Okay? On Saturday, October 26th, and that will be in the Pittsfield Municipal Parking Lot. Northern Lights, which is Healthy SB, will be collecting e-waste items from 8 a.m. until noon. And their items to be collected will include cell phones, computer towers, printers, televisions, and monitors. And they do this each year, which is great. It helps the town. The Pittsfield Police Department will be collecting unwanted and unused prescription drugs from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And there are 2 national take-back days to get the prescription drugs back that people aren't taking that would get thrown into the trash. And this Saturday is one of those national days, and there's another one in spring. Number 3 is the Husky Howl, and this was something new that we announced at the last meeting. And this is Wheels and Coffee that will take place at MCI on Saturday, October 26th. It'll be from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And it's a wheel show for the community to raise funds for JMG's annual Giving Tree charity. And so this is an event that will be on MCI's front lawn, now that we've got a lot of front lawn. 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Registration starts at 10. They got a whole variety of partners involved, including Dunkin' Donuts, Pop-On Overs, a food truck, and then they're giving out trophies, prizes, getting donations, selling raffle tickets, having food, drink sales, and they will have some live music. So they are talking about getting information out with little trainings and seminars for people to learn about how to buy, lease, insure, and own a vehicle. So this is mostly targeted to MCI students and young adults and everything, and a few older adults could probably want to do that too. So that's their first event put on by JMG, which is Jobs for Maine's Graduates, the division that's at MCI. Number 4 is the Pittsfield Community Trunk or Treat event, and that was our long-standing, highly anticipated fire department Halloween party that has the best doughboys in the world, and I didn't realize that till one of the later years. Bernard brought up doughboys for all of us, and then we saw why people like those. I couldn't figure out, why would people eat dough that's fried? But it was very good. So that expanded last year to include many additional partners, and now it has expanded to have 3 locations this year. And last year it was very crowded in the parking lot, so this is good to spread it out. So there will be 3 locations. The Pittsfield Public Library is joining, and they will be having a reading, All Hallows Read. They'll have free books, candy, and a photo booth, so this could be quite interesting. That will be at the library 4 to 6 p.m. For the duration of the event, which is 5:30 to 8:30, the Pittsfield First Baptist Church will have trunks and candy, so the vehicles will be over there with the candy. And then the Pittsfield Municipal Parking Lot will have the kiddie parade that will line up at the fire department at 7 p.m. There will be a hot and cold apple cider. It says Pittsfield Fire Department Famous Doughboys, and it says Detroit Fire Department Famous Sundays. So for more information, contact Jessica Olette, and she has a number for Healthy SV, which is 487-3890. So she's really helped to organize quite a nice event, and we've got a lot of different groups involved with that. Number 5, the Town Council chambers will be closed to meetings on Wednesday, October 23rd, and Thursday, October 24th, and that'll be because the new tiling, which is the same setup as upstairs, will be installed. There'll be a small area of carpet up here, and then there'll be some other renovations. And number 6, I'll just note, I announced this at the last meeting, but digital warrants, which some of you weren't here. MMA has advised that the town will not be able to have councilors sign the warrants digitally, and that's because the legislature has continually turned down bills that would allow the councilors and selectmen to phone in, dial in, teleconference, or utilize the computer to call in from a remote location and have their vote counted. So once again, a great idea, but still not legal. And they did think in the further discussions that they're getting closer and closer to having these bills passed. It's come up many times, so they think in the next couple of years something will happen regarding this. Number 7, our 2020 proposed state valuation was announced at the last meeting, and for those of you that weren't here, a valuation increase has been 2.3 million, or approximately a little bit less than 1%. Sometimes you have higher ones, sometimes you have lower ones. You never want it to go down. And so ours did go up, which is good. And it could have been a lot higher if we had taken the over $20 million from Pittsfield Solar and put that in there. But if we had, then we would have, if we did capture that value and put it out as a TIF, we would have ended up with a very increased county assessment, a really increased school assessment, a decrease in our state revenue sharing, and a decrease in our educational subsidy, as well as a few other items. And so that was all studied at that time with charts and everything to find out exactly what the savings would be. And for that amount, the town worked out well to put it in the TIF. Now, one of our residents, Mr. Sally, works for the state. He's quite knowledgeable on TIFs and has volunteered to help us with some in the future. And so as soon as we have a TIF show up, we'll call him. Sometimes he suggests that you not have all the monies go into the captured value to capture it, take it out of your assessment, and that would be true. On the smaller TIFs, you're more likely not to do that. But if it's just a huge one, something 50 million that came in, there's no way we would put it in our valuation, because we would end up losing a lot of state revenue sharing. We get a lot of money now that the law has changed, and we're going in the positive way again, which is good. So we'll call him in. He's volunteered to help us out, and it looks like we might have a project in the future. And number 8, as I had noted at the last meeting, great news on the new office project at the transfer station. So the chosen vendor, Hillview Mini Bars, is still working away on building the unit the way that the transfer station wanted to have it done. And so we'll have an announcement on exactly the exact weekend that will be installed, and just making sure that we'll be covered in everything. Number 9, I had done the mill rate comparison for Pittsfield versus communities in the state of Maine on the latest information that we've gotten. And last year, we had announced that in September of 2018. And in that particular year, Pittsfield had the 58th highest tax rate in the state of Maine, and a lot of that has to do with the fact you have so much tax exempt property because you're the home of many, many items that are wonderful items that make our community the way that it is, and we chose to have those entities here and promoted to have them here, and they wanted to be here. So they don't pay taxes, but they help us in other ways, which has led to the fact that our tax rate is high, and why we tried to be so conservative for years, but it's gotten to the point where we need to add some items in. Now, on the last year's, was 2017 information that came out. It comes out a couple of years later, and so now the town's tax rate is the 83rd highest tax rate. So we did gain some traction there, or we had other towns add more into their budgets, or have their valuations not increase as much as ours did. So it's a complicated return that is a massive document, but there is a small section on the tax rates, and we figured this out by simply looking at what our full value tax rate is and then counting those that are higher than ours, and that tells us where our position is for as much information as that is. For the budget calendar for 2020, which is number 10, the councilors did get their budgets on the due date, which is good, and I finished up right at the moment we zipped them out. So we'll be going to our first town council workshop, which will start at 6:30, and that will be on October 22nd. There'll be a review of the overall expenditure budget, the overall revenue budget, and a review of the capital budget. There is a finance committee meeting after that, but we talked about canceling that one because it's on October 31st. So we'll have to talk about that. And we can do that easily. And then our next workshop will be after a regular town council meeting, but that will be on a Wednesday because elections are coming up on 11/5. So when we have elections on the first Tuesday of the month and hit that with a council meeting, then we move it over to the Wednesday. So on that Wednesday, we'll have a number of sessions that we can go through. The council does reserve the right to go on to the next items that are listed. So depending on how fast and how much you get done at your workshop on October 22nd, we'll just make a little comment for the public that these other items could be added on too, because that can happen. And you've got all your regular sort of administrative ones: council, administration, town clerk, finance, assessing, legal, elections, municipal building, community economic development, insurances, codes and building inspection, general assistance on classifieds, scheduled for 11/6. And so depending on how much you get through on the 22nd, you may or may not add those on, or you may do them double. You have to figure out what we want to do as things go along. And then there's a whole schedule of workshops, and this has all been on the website since it's approved the budget calendar back in June. All right, very good. So on to number 11, the 2020 to 2021 Maine Department of Transportation Capital Plan. Just to remind everybody that we did get approved for the design, permitting, and construction of the 8-bay nested T-hanger with an outrageous price to meet the requirements of the State of Maine, MUBEC, FAA, and everybody else involved there of $1.4 million, but that does include paving too, and the design permitting. So that could be a 6-bay, but it's approved right now for 8-bay, and when we go out to bid in the future, then we'll find out exactly what will happen. There'll probably be options there. There's a lot of paving coming up on Route 2, a lot of bridge rehab projects on the I-95 overpasses in Pittsfield, crack sealing at the runway and taxiway, and the Main Street Rehabilitation Project, which is still in there for the amount it was a couple of years ago, $617,500. And two other items quickly. Community Service Day, we've been asked to participate with MCI, which is great, because a few years they just went out and did a lot of residential. So we're back in there with students coming out on the new date of October 31st, Halloween. They had it scheduled for a couple of days prior, but now the students are going out on Halloween. So this should be interesting. They'll be out from 8:30 to approximately 10:30 in the morning. Our projects will be at the Pittsfield Community Theater, in which the students will go down and help clean the theater. So that'll be really good. And we'll be providing supplies. They will be going to the transfer station, which they'll pick up trash along Peltoma Avenue, specifically from the airport to the transfer station, which is the notorious area where things blow out of people's vehicles. We'll provide the bags and disposable gloves. And then the reuse center, there'll be raking of leaves and some work inside to reorganize all the reuse items. So we'll be supplying items there. And then last but not least, the favorite event of all, which we received quite a few calls on, surplus equipment property. So these are our, what we call our junk, but are really treasures that people want to bid on. So the items that we have coming up for bid, with bids due on October 29th, 2019 at 3 o'clock p.m. are the following. A 2004 Sterling roll-off truck that has 60,000 pound accurate hoist and an auto topper, which has 940 hours on it, and the vehicle has 303,400 miles. Number 2, a 2006 Ford F-350 Super Duty diesel pickup, 110,000 miles. I'm rounding this off here. Number 3, the 1981 Pierce Ford C8000 fire truck, 1,000 GPM, gallons per minute, watrous pump, has a 1,000-gallon steel water tank, and a whole variety of other items, including an automatic transmission. Number 4, 1976 Ford F-750 fire tanker truck, 1,500-gallon steel tank. That has 23,105 miles. Number 5, the 1970 Bombardier plow for parts. It has a blown track and some other blown things. 1971 Bombardier is number 6. That is a work tracks. The tracks, it says work tracks, but I think it means worn tracks, but it does run. Number 7 is a 1981 Ford 555 special diesel powered backhoe tractor, and that has, all of these items have a few things amiss, and so when the town sells off its property, it's been well used, so just ask what the items are and the department heads will tell you. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Kathleen. Next is new business.
Resolution 19-104. Resolve that the town council accept the bid of blank in the amount of a dollar amount for map 12, lot 66, and map 12, lot 66-ON, property at 422 Honeywell Ave, from the 10/10/2019 tax acquired property bid, and to require full payment of the bid price within 21 days.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on resolution 19-104 this evening?
Could we hear this blanks on it?
We received a variety of bids. So I believe we would have to,
Should we discuss it first and then put it out to the audience?
why don't we do it that way?
It's going to work much better.
Yeah, okay, so I'll look for a motion from the counselors to open discussion on resolution 19-104.
Move to adopt resolution 19-104
Thank you, Bob. And a
with the
second?
name of Dan Tozier in the amount of $47,544 for map 12 lot 66 and map 12 lot 66-ON.
Second?
Thank you. Thanks, Matt. Now, is there any discussion? Anyone in the audience looking to comment on this resolution?
Could you repeat the amount?
$47,544.
Thank you.
So we had bids received from a low of $12,000 up to the high of $47,544.
This person's right from Pittsfield as well.
Right.
So there were 7 bids, and Mr. Tozier indicates that he's going to clean up the property to start. He's going to bush hog around the buildings. He will make the trailer, because it's a trailer in 38 plus or minus acres. Going to make the trailer a rentable property. Within a year, maybe he will, he says maybe, he will build another rental property, but his objective is to make the trailer rentable immediately.
Any other comments from the audience? Let hearing any counselors, do you have any questions, comments? Alright, let's take a vote. All those in favor of resolution 19-104 with Daniel Tozier in the amount of $47,544, please say aye.
Aye.
All those nay. And that resolution passes.
Resolution 19-105. Resolved that the town council accept the bid of blank in the amount of a dollar amount for map 18, lot 64, property at 456 Cannon Road from the 10/10/2019 tax acquired property bid and to require full payment of the bid price within 21 days.
So we actually didn't receive any bids on this property,
Correct.
so
There were no
We just let
bids,
that
so we should,
Not even,
yeah, just pass over
just
it.
pass over this.
We'll put it out again with a smaller amount for the minimum bid, but also talk with the Public Works Department. They were too busy to haul away these materials that were left over from the fire when the unattached buildings burned up there. So there is a farmhouse that is in relatively good shape, but there's a lot of rubble up there from the fire.
Okay.
So hauling that away may make things easier, or if we stated that we would waive the transfer station fees and just take the materials, that might help. We talk with the different departments and see what to propose to bring back at the next meeting.
Okay, so that'll come back around. Let's go on to resolution 19-106 then.
Resolution 19-106. Resolved that the town council accept the bid of blank in the amount of a dollar amount for map 33, lot 41, property at 103 Waverly Street from the 10/10/2019 tax acquired property bid and to require full payment of the bid price within 21 days.
Councilors, I'll look for a motion.
move we adopt resolution 19-106.
Thank you.
And
Second.
I haven't put any names in yet. I'll do that now. Accept the bid of Kevin Heath in the amount of $6,000 for map 33, lot 41.
Thank you, Paul. Second, Howie?
Second.
Thank you, Howard.
Go for it. Moving right along.
Any discussion from the audience this evening regarding resolution 19-106? Not hearing any. Counselors, do you have any discussion you'd like to have about this resolution?
That was the only bidder.
Right.
Only bidder on that
It
property.
is a two-story interesting house on 2/10 of an acre at the corner of Madawaska and Waverly Avenue.
and where?
Madawaska and
In
Lee
Madawaska. Right beside the old hardware store. Right on the corner.
Oh, that yellow one.
You're right.
It's that little tiny lot with the
Used to be
building that just fits
DeBay's
on
store there.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, since you're ready to vote, all those in favor of resolution 19-106 with Kevin Keith in the bid amount of $6,000, please say aye.
Aye.
Any say nay? That resolution passes.
Resolution 19-107. Resolved that the town council accept the bid of blank in the amount of a dollar amount for map 29, lot 23, property at 367 North Main Street from the 10/10/2019 tax acquired property bid and to require full payment of the bid price within 21 days.
Thank you, Mike. Counselors will look for a motion.
Move we adopt resolution 19-107, fill in the blanks, the Kim Niles in the amount of $5,000.
Second.
Bob seconded. Any discussion from the audience on this? Resolution 19-07. Not seeing any. Counselors, do you have any discussion about this item?
Just how much was it?
5,000.
5,000.
5,000.
Yeah,
That
there
was the
were-
high bid.
it was the high bid. There were two bids, and this is the tiny house that is on North Main Street going up right close to Sebastopol Animal Clinic that we tried to sell a couple of times. And so the high bidder, both bidders had proposed to fix this up and make a rental property.
They're very ambitious.
That is very yes, well,
They're up
we
there now.
tell everybody to go look at these, and I think
Yeah.
people should definitely go look
Yeah,
at them.
exactly.
It looks nice driving by, but I stopped and looked at it, and the whole main floor is caved in.
You can see through the building,
Yeah, it's bad.
Oh,
Hopefully something good turns out.
but it is a nice piece of land.
Nice to see it moved.
Any other discussion? I'll call for a vote on this. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nay? Okay, that passes. Resolution, no, wait.
Resolution 19-108, resolved that the town council accept the bid of blank in the amount of a dollar amount for map 5, lot 2A, property on Snake Root Road, from the 10/10/2019 tax acquired property bid, and to require full payment of the bid price within 21 days.
Thank you, Mike.
move we adopt resolution 19-108.
You done? Any names you wanna put in there?
No,
I do.
tell me.
I have Glenn Wall in the amount of $3,030.30 from that 5 lot 02A.
Okay, we'll go with that as a second then.
Thank you.
Any discussion from the audience regarding resolution 19-108 with Glenn Wall in the amount of $3,030.30? Not seeing any. Counselors, do you have any discussion on this?
It's an odd amount, but we'll take it.
I'm sure there's a method there.
There were four bids, and Mr. Wall proposes owning this lot is strictly recreational and intend to keep the land as forest wooded lot forever, which considering its location is probably a good thing.
This is landlocked, isn't it?
In the deed, it does have there does state there's a right of way 20 feet wide in a certain corner, so.
Somewhere in there. Okay. All right. Any additional discussion, counselors? Since you're ready to vote, all those in favor of resolution 19-108 for Glen Wall, $3,030.30, please say aye.
Aye.
Any say nay? So that resolution passes. Michael, resolution 19-109, I will not be voting on this resolution.
Okay. Resolution 19-109, resolved that the town council accept the bid of blank in the amount of a dollar amount for map 4, lot 46, property at 1044 Main Street, from the 10/10/2019 tax acquired property bid, and to require full payment of the bid price within 21 days.
Thank you. Counselors, looking for a motion?
Move we adopt resolution 19-109 to accept the bid of Richard and Mary Lou Brown in the amount of $13,500 from map 4, lot 46.
Second?
Thank you. Any discussion from the audience regarding resolution 19-109?
What did you say for the price?
$13,500.
Not seeing any. Counselors, do you have any discussion on this item?
This was the lot that the gentleman came in late to collect his taxes? was it?
Actually, the first one was the lot, and he did not bring in a bid, although we told him, we talked to him between Emily and I 11 times.
Okay.
So this one did have a letter from the prior owner, which we did include in there, however, no bid was received.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Since you're ready to vote, all those in favor of resolution 19-109 for Richard and Mary Lou Brown in the amount of $13,500, please say aye.
Aye.
All those say nay. And that resolution passes.
Resolution 19-110, resolved that the town council accept the proposal of blank in an amount to not exceed a dollar amount for the municipal building roof replacement and a dollar amount for the fire station roof replacement plus an allowance for material placement around the hatch and rooftop units to not exceed a dollar amount, and an allowance for material placement in deteriorated decking areas to not exceed a dollar amount, and to authorize the town manager to execute all necessary paperwork, including the town's standard services contract for the project.
Thank you, Michael. Councilors will look for a motion for resolution -19-110.
Move we adopt resolution 19-110, accept the proposal of C.O. Beck and Sons of Waterville, Maine, in an amount not to exceed $38,965 for the municipal building roof replacement and $45,640 for the fire station roof replacement.
Okay, there's also 2 blanks in
I
there
didn't see
for
the number.
hatch and rooftop. There was an item in our packet that said not to exceed $5,000 for
Yes.
materials for both, not each, right?
We can use that for both. When I contacted C.O. Beck and Company, they were trying to cover everything by just saying 5,000, but they also said our roof was not in poor condition, there's just a few places, so you could use the 5,000 for around the rooftop units and the deteriorated decking areas. You can use that for both.
Okay.
Okay, I'll put that in my
Yeah.
$5,000
That will cover everything, we won't need change orders and such.
Alright.
Especially since the bids came in so much lower than all the other companies.
Alright, thank you. And that would need a second.
Second?
That's in the second thing.
Well, we were trying to figure out what
The blanks.
yeah, thank you, Deb. Any discussion from the audience regarding this item?
Could you just repeat the company name?
C.O. Beck and Sons.
They do a lot of work in town, actually.
They do, yeah.
Yes, we were fortunate that they
They're a great
bid, and
company.
they bid such a low price compared to all the other companies. They've
Very
worked in
reputable.
town on Bud Shop and Save, you've seen the nice new roof that was put in a few years ago. Now it's been more than a few years ago, but that's a nice roof. They did the roofing for the swimming pool building as part of a whole donation contracting, helping out, we only paid for part of it. And they've done a number of other buildings here in town too.
It's always nice to work with contractors that we have worked with before.
Yes, and they were the most thorough when they went up on the roof, and they were the most thorough in their bid, and they're very, very thorough. And I have a number of emails from them on what they propose to do and how to do it and everything. So they're interested in our early spring. I had them ask them about the roof and its condition, and they thought that we'd be fine, you know, for another winter. We're probably fine for a few winters, but let's get it done before it's a problem.
Any other discussion, councilors? If not hearing any, let's vote on this. Anyone in favor of resolution 19-110 to C.O. Beck and Sons of Waterville for $38,965 for the municipal building roof replacement, $45,640 for the fire station roof replacement, and $5,000 for material placement and replacement of the deteriorated decking and the hatch and rooftop units for $5,000. Please say aye.
Aye.
Please say nay. And that passes. Last one, Mike.
Resolution 19-111, resolved that the town council authorize the town manager and theater manager to execute the necessary releases for filming and video production regarding the Pittsfield Community Theater as a promotional and fundraising opportunity with production companies, producers, film companies, after approval of such releases by the town attorney.
Thank you. Look for a motion.
Move we adopt resolution 19-111.
Thank you, Bob.
Second?
Thank you, Matt. Would anyone in the audience like to comment on resolution 19-111? Yep. Any counselors like to have a discussion about resolution -1911?
What are they proposing?
Any questions?
Yeah, so these are general releases, so we'll have this on the books in case other companies come. So we've been contacted by we've been contacted by a number of people, but one company that's come through that's interested in doing some filming here in the town office and mostly at the theater. And they would help us promote and fundraise a local comedian from the state of Maine for a show that would take place in December. So this would be not something in some places you would get paid for your places to be used, but they're doing this as a fundraiser for the Pittsfield Community Theater because they've read about its struggles, so they want to help out. But we do anticipate that other companies, will show up at some point. So, these little clips will be, tiny little things, although they might, take, 50 places or talk with you for 50 minutes. There'll be some little 2 or 3 minute item probably in the end. But we'll learn more near the end of October. And then the comedian that would be introduced from the state of Maine would be for family, it would be family at the beginning of December. They're also filming at other locations in the state too as part of their overall family comedian show.
Okay. Any other questions? Comments?
We'll learn from this one.
Alright, since you're ready to vote, all those in favor of resolution 19-111, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nay? That resolution passes. So that moves us on to discussion items. Financial reports as of 9/30/19.
Yes, I'll be very brief. You received your package after I got the budget done, so that we are for 9/30/2019 through 3/4 of the year, because we're on the calendar year, or 75% of the period. So we look at the budget expenditures in total and then as part of municipal water and sewer. So we're through 75% of the period with 63.7% of expenditures taking place, and we tried to slow spending as much as we can because our revenues are coming in slower. We are through 59.4% collections in terms of the billings for municipal water and sewer. Depreciation and transfers are not included. Those are always done at the end by the auditor. I'm not able to do those. So far, we're through 75% of the period with 63.7% of municipal expenditures and 59.4% of municipal water and sewer. For the revenue collections report, we are through 75% of the period as with all of the items, and we have 48.6% collections municipal, 50.1% collections on municipal water and sewer. These are lower. There are some significant transfers that have to take place because we are using the second allocation. The third is in the next budget. So the second allocation of $104,600 that comes from the Pittsfield's Future Funds CD that we set aside to help us during these difficult budget years. So we have that transfer to do, but we also have the transfer of approximately $83,000 that comes for the TIF, the Tax Increment Financing District, that was to be transferred to the budget for community economic development, and that's from Pittsfield Solar, so that was new. That would make these percentages lower than usual because those aren't done until the end of the year, because the interest rates are higher in the specialty account where the monies are than they are in the general checking account, so you don't want to transfer them over until end of year to have more interest. But the revenues are still running a bit low. We are happy to report that the excise taxes have caught up, which is wonderful. That had run in the negative most of the year. And now our excise tax collections for 9/30 are $4,064 ahead of the 2018 collections this year. And that all depends on when all the fleets come in. And a fleet can be due in December and come in October. It can come in the next February, which is the next budget year. The last item I'll mention is state revenue sharing report. And for this period, this is our wonderful state revenue sharing that's starting to come back. It's not all the way back or remotely back to where it used to be. We used to get over $500,000 and then per year, and then we get down to close to 200,000. But the state legislature increased the percentage of monies that were coming back to the towns. So we are now $49,946 ahead of the 2018 collections. So that's all good news. Thank you. And that's all the discussion items. I'm trying to put them all up at the beginning of the meeting.
Alright, so that brings us to reports. Audience reports. Anyone in the audience like to make comments this evening? Mike.
I have a question for Catherine, it just dawned on me, but the homestead exemption is going up this year. Are you aware of that? Or?
All right, it already went up, but they contributed a higher percentage than usual, so it was supposed to help the towns. So it's already calculated into the 2019 tax rate.
Okay, so it went from 20 to 25, which means we would have a lower valuation? Is that how that works?
But we get more back. So there's a complicated formula.
Yeah,
I
I'm
know,
sure
it
there
used
is.
to be very easy. We could calculate it out ourselves, but now with the way the Betty is, the business equipment tax with the different percentages on whether you have enhanced or not, we have the enhanced, so we have the highest percentage. The assessor has trouble figuring this out. And the homestead's changed too, so there's a little chart that you can do that will tell us exactly how it affects us.
So do individuals have to apply to get that additional exemption? Or
Okay,
is
so
it
I'm
gonna
thinking
roll
this
over?
is the new item that was just released on TV that's created some confusion because the TV doesn't have all the details as usual. So to our knowledge, nobody needs to apply again to get a higher amount because it's been higher and lower over the years. But if there's anything that needs to change, we will let everybody know.
Okay,
Yeah. And that would be for 2020.
but you have to do that by April 1st.
April 1st, right, yeah. So we'd have to do several notices, but I suspect the state realizes what a nightmare that would be for all those papers to be filed by everybody who has a homestead now.
But they don't care, so.
No, the towns will do it.
Sounds good.
Yes, but if there's something that needs to be done so that people need to reapply, we will let them know. I can't imagine that that's what the state wants us to do.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in the audience make comments this evening? No? Yes, sir.
Is there any more time you have to wait on the people that bid on the properties? Is there any more meetings you have to go through to get confirmed and to get a deed for the properties that were bidded on and going to the people? I'm representing my nephew Dan Tozier,
Okay.
and I'm just set in tonight to kind of listen to what was going on. My name is David Tozier, and I'm going to relay the message to him. How much time he does have? If you said 21 days, now is that from today? You have 21 days to.
It'll be from when the letter goes out to him, the date of the letter, so we'll start working on the letters tomorrow.
Okay.
And of course, we can contact him because we have his phone number too.
Okay.
And explain the process out, but the letter will explain out the exact process. This is the first step to pay the remainder. People can pay tomorrow if they want to, or they can pay within the 21 days. The sooner they pay, the sooner we can get their public hearing is required under the town charter for the sale of any properties, including tax-acquired properties. I don't think that the government meant that, or the town meant that when this originally was done in the 1970s for the charter, but it's the way the law falls. And so there's a public hearing that's scheduled, so there's 2 steps with that. And so his letter will explain it all out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience this evening? Councilors? We'll start with you. Mr. O'Leary.
No report this evening, thank you.
Okay. Howie?
I second his no report.
Bob?
I just have a couple things. First of all, thanks to the audience for coming out tonight, sitting through our portion of the show. It's always good to see somebody out in the audience. Second, I'd like to give my condolences to the Dunphy family. Dot passed away Saturday. She's been sick for a while, but we'll miss her. Mike, thank you for your presentation tonight. Appreciate you coming in. And Catherine, thank you for your work, especially on the budget. I know that was a big project and
Oh, thank you.
a lot of pressure on you to get that done on time, so thank you very much.
Yes, ahead of time, too. Ahead of usual.
So thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Caleb?
Just that, just kind of on the airport side of things, it's there's a lot of really exciting things going on down there. The airport has been full, and it's been really exciting. And to see the new hangar development happen is really key. I actually met with a guy today that wants to move his airplane base from Belfast up to this area, and be at Pittsfield. And we went through and kind of talked about some things, and he wants to offer compassion flights and work with Angel Flight and PALS, which is basically flying people to medical visits and stuff that maybe are having a hard time getting to Boston or getting to wherever they are. And he wants to base that right out of Pittsfield. And he's a very passionate person about his dream, and his dream is to have a whole fleet of planes that leave no needs unmet in New England. And I don't know if it's going to happen quite the way that he wants it to, but he's definitely extremely got a really big vision for what he wants to do in his retirement. And it appears like it could potentially happen, so kind of exciting, and that'd be good for the town. And again, it seems like we've had a lot of people come through lately that are coming into the area and say things about how wonderful the town looks, and of course with the fall colors, so.
Caleb, what's the timeline on the hangar?
Yeah, so
To get the
and maybe
hangar
Catherine can correct me here, but I think the timeline on the hangar is that next year the groundwork will happen for the building, and then after in the following year the hangar will be built, and all the like the hot top around it will all be done then too.
So 2021 then.
Yep.
Yes.
And I should get a formal list going because I have people
Yes.
like already asking me, and so yeah, we're pretty excited. Like I always said, or like I said a lot of times, we're excited that this could be, it's a revenue generator. It's one of the first projects that we've done that'll actually like bring dollars that'll help offset the cost of crack sealing in a couple of years. And yeah, I just amazed some days. Like today, the weather was great, and it just planes coming and going right steady. And we got the flight instruction programs doing great, and we're continuing to try to work with MCI to try to get something going on down there. And the new headmasters I have so many projects going, my head's gonna explode almost. So
No, come up here.
Yeah.
You don't want to do it.
Yeah, but it's exciting to see it all kind of come together, and it all started back a long time ago when we did the whole airport, and we got the new runway, and and it's been a place now that people really want to be. So it's awesome.
Nice. Good to hear.
Heather, I have a quick question. Maybe you can answer. The amount of money allotted for those 8 T hangars, if the bids came in less, could you spend the additional savings on more T hangars? He's going to fill those 8 just like
I
that.
think the problem's going to be the construction costs by that time they're finding on these airport items due to how it's not as though we could go build it at a reasonable building. You have to overbuild it, basically. We think it's being overbuilt, but the FAA, of course,
No,
doesn't.
there's no question
Of course.
about being overbuilt, but
So
it
it's
may
tough,
be
right?
something for us to think about.
There'll be different options listed, so the way to protect the town is to have these different options. Whether you go for the 8 bay and then you have a 6, and then you have, if it's 10, you know, we'll have to figure that out. And by the time we get there, it'll change from what we think now, because the construction costs for the airports are all over the place.
Ideally, if the construction cost came in moderately under, we would maybe do some earthwork in preparation for another one.
Okay,
You know,
that makes sense.
Because the guy that I was talking to today, he would like to actually build his own hangar. And we've spoken to plenty of people like that, but it's part of the problem is when there's so many, like Catherine and I have talked, you know, there's so many hurdles for a private person to go build their own hangar. We have to have, I mean, the email from the code enforcement officer just totally blows my mind, just because it was like, you have to get a water runoff plan and you know, all this stuff that's kind of crazy, but it's what's required because we're on federal
That's
funded
the permitting
land.
from the state and the federal government, especially the state. And so by doing this hangar, all the private people who, some of which would have built their own hangars if it had been easier before Newbeck, would have done their own, but now they would be part, you know, leased from the town in a building that we own that was paid for 90% federal funding, 5% state funding, and we put in 5%, which then it takes a while, but over a number of years, we'll get the money back from the generation of the leases.
Which Peak was a big help with that too. And hopefully you got all your money back on that.
Not yet, but we will.
Yeah.
A lot of that. There's more paperwork on it. Paperwork after I got the budget done.
I'll second it. Deb?
I'd just like to say thank you to everybody that came, and thank you to Catherine for the budget work, which I know is not a simple task.
Thank you.
And that's it.
Okay. I just have a couple things to say. Thanks again to Mike for coming in and filling us in on what's going on with Peak and economic development on that arm of things. The KV-COG report sounds really promising as far as other opportunities to save on our budget, the operating costs of the streetlights particularly. Thank you everyone who came to our farm for Open Creamery Day this past Sunday. It was kind of cloudy in the morning, and then the sun just came out and it was gorgeous. So we had a really good group of people, met a lot of new people coming in from other towns around. And so that was really exciting to see new groups of people coming in through Pittsfield. Also the budget work, I mean this is quite a considerable document, and the department heads, everyone in the office upstairs, and Catherine for certain has put a lot of work into it, and we'll all be diving into it over the next couple of weeks as we go through the budget process. Really excited to hear about everything going on at the airport, and there's so much interest in a hangar that doesn't even exist yet. So, so that's pretty exciting, and thank you to everybody for coming out in the audience tonight too. It can be kind of mundane listening to things, but we appreciate your perseverance and patience in staying. With that, I look for a motion to adjourn.
Move the adjournment.
All right, you did very good.
Well, I think, thank you, Rita, look forward to the motion to adjourn.
You already did it again?
Yes,
I am excited.
I'm ready.
Yes.
Mr. Gray.
I didn't get a budget.
She's big on that.
I'll check it.